Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls because I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like him. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.
You're listening to another Big Buck Breakdown from the Element Podcast.
Yeah.
What's going on, all my woods people? Casey and I are just spending a couple hours here warming up in the middle of the day. It has been freezing cold, and we are in Kansas right now, which means that, what'd you say yesterday? There ain't nothing but a skinny steer between here and Alberta.
That's right, dude. Dadgummit. It's been so cold in the mornings. The afternoons are pretty warm, honestly. It's kind of crazy, the variance of temperatures from the night to the morning up here. I mean, we saw 13 degrees heading to the stand this morning, and it's going to make it to probably 60 today.
Really?
It's 55 out there right now, I think.
Wow.
It might not quite make it 60, but either way, it's pretty warm for an afternoon.
Yeah.
But the deer seem to be moving more in the afternoons than they do in the morning. At least that was my perception, but you kind of had a different perception this morning.
Yeah. Last night was still better movement than this morning. I saw a ton of deer last night, which that was kind of the consensus here with all the guys here in camp. And it's, I don't know, I'm hoping that we get the same type of movement, this afternoon that we did yesterday afternoon, just because of how many deer were moving. I thought we were going to kill a buck this morning.
Yeah, I thought you were too.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I was saying. It's like I thought you and I were going to stalk in on that buck and kill him this morning.
We stalked in on close enough to kill some does.
His
it's just
does
he wasn't
there. I don't know where he went, man. But
it's crazy. Yeah, Kansas is a lot of fun, man. It's cool just to be in a place where there's a lot of deer.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, we've been up here a lot this year. And dude, the rut was pretty wild.
Yeah,
it seems so long ago, but it was like crazy how many deer we saw.
Yeah, we had a really good early November, which that series is now releasing video-wise on YouTube little by little. So make sure you're going to check that out. The first video is already out. I'm hoping that by the time you listen to this, the second video will also be out. But if not, just make sure you're subscribed and you'll see that come out. But it has been pretty tough, man. I felt like until this morning, I've been up here almost a week, and I felt like until this morning I couldn't even put together a full video with what I've experienced.
What's interesting is that until this morning you hadn't been really to this property, I guess until last night that we hunted this morning.
Yeah.
It's like it's weird how, I'm not saying you made a mistake, but how like you kind of get in the groove of like you're going to try and make it happen at this one spot, and then like you end up going somewhere different, and oh, there's a deer over here,
mm-hmm.
And you just kind of, it's good because you kind of get that fresh breath of, like, man, we can make this thing happen. This is going to be cool.
Actually, the place I hunted before this was, I've seen a ton of deer, just no bucks.
Yeah.
And the buck I was hunting over there, we think got shot this morning and killed. So we hope
know he got shot
him.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other guys at camp, Drew, has placed an arrow in that buck, and I think they're trying to do a little blood trailing right now, but I think they're probably, I don't know.
Based off of phone calls and texts that we've got, I'm not sure what's going on, but I don't think they've found it yet.
No, I think they're still trying, and they just by the text I saw a while ago was 3 words, but it sounds like they might be kind of laying off.
Yeah,
you
like
know
he's
what I mean?
still alive.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
hopefully that deer can get put down pretty quick, or he expires pretty soon. We can go for a recovery. But
Yep.
you know, I've been kind of looking forward to this trip because it's kind of the last big push to get it done in Kansas. And I came up here with a really good, I think, good game plan right off the get-go, but it's going to take a little while to develop. So we've got some permission places, some public places. I'm going to do a little hunting on both of those. You've been doing a little hunting on both of those already, but we kind of did almost – this is kind of funny, weird way to say it, but it's almost like the TV personality way of doing stuff. Like you show up and put out some cameras and see what's there.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but that's kind of what we did. Or I guess yesterday around lunchtime, went and put out corn in 2 different places and put cameras on them, and kind of going to let it sit for a couple days and see what shows up and assess where to go to try to. Because like right now, kind of need a buck quick. You know, like. Yeah, it's good to like just do observation sits and figure out where they're at, or sit in the truck in the morning and glass them up. But the trail camera thing is going to be pretty key for these last couple hunts here. And we've got an Exodus Trek hanging over one of these piles of corn over here. And I really like that camera for doing this because we're in places where you've got really people using properties a lot. And there's a good chance that a trail camera ends up missing. And one of the really nice things about Exodus trail cameras is you can put the security code on them, and it pretty much locks them down where that camera's, if I'm not mistaken, it's like not usable by anyone else.
You can't get into it.
Can't get into it. And you can, on these Treks, you have like a 4-digit number that you can use, like a PIN number or whatever, and it keeps it, well, it doesn't mean it can't be stolen, but at least it means it's not usable for somebody else. And with it being an Exodus camera, Exodus has that like replacement thing where what is it, like 50% of the cost of the camera, if it's stolen, they'll replace that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
They'll match your money on it or something. I can't remember, but pretty good deal because
5-year warranty.
Yeah, 5-year warranty. We're always getting cameras stolen on public.
Well, I think that if a person's probably going to open that camera up in the woods, and instead of just grabbing it, and they're going to look at it for a second. Well, when you open that camera up and you see that there's a security code and you can't just put 0000 in and it work, then the chances of you actually stealing the camera, I think, are a lot more slim. And it stinks because they might steal that card. They likely will. But because if they were checking it, they might be on the camera. They probably will steal that card. But and that's kind of like we were talking about earlier. It's more valuable to have that information sometimes than it is to have the camera. But at least you don't get both sides of it stolen. You know, you're not losing $100 or $150 worth of the camera and an SD card.
And that's another reason I like those Treks a lot. Is because they're a fairly reasonably priced camera that take really good pictures.
They do. I know you've always bragged about the exposure of those cameras, and I'm with you on it, man.
Yeah.
I think it's. They do a real good job, especially in video mode, of adjusting quickly. Like it comes on, you can tell the whole camera is like booting up and coming on at the same time and adjusting exposure, and it's like within a split second you're there.
I think one thing about these cameras on picture mode with the exposure that I like is that they switch over to black and white a little bit earlier than most cameras do. So instead of getting like a really grainy color image, you just get a really crisp black and white image, which we all know what colored whitetails are, so I don't think it's like not really that essential to get a color photo, right? So it's much better.
Brian Broderick and you're shooting piebald.
Exactly.
Which you can still probably tell from black and white.
That's right.
Yeah,
that is true. But anyways, I guess we'll just throw it in here now. Like big thanks to Exodus for kind of helping us bring these big buck breakdowns to you this season.
Yeah.
Speaking of the big buck breakdown. Our guy finally made it, dude. We were a little bit worried.
Yeah, we were. Because, I mean, we knew he was going to, and then he had some issues with some deer hunting this year and shooting and that kind of thing, and some things going wrong, and he was able to finally.
We're rooting for him the whole time, and it happened. Our man Sam Hogan, who I believe this makes him the longest tenured well, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but annually, most often,
yeah.
BBB featured guy
every year
since we've been doing it, and every time we do a BBB with him, I think we kill something, right?
The next day or something, right?
Yeah, well, we killed Nameless after we did a BBB with him. I know, and I don't remember what happened last year.
And then, yeah.
I'm going to say it happened.
Yeah.
So that
he's good luck.
It means we need to kill something today.
He's good luck. Well, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, good.
I mean, that buck that we chased this morning that we thought was in there and wasn't, he's probably going to come by my tree stand area today. And actually, I might not even hunt that tree stand because we're looking at a different wind than what they were predicting.
I know. We got a lot of stuff to figure out. We might need to do some mapping here in a second. So why don't we just get Sam on?
Let's do it, man. All right, now on the phone, we have one of our correspondents, Sam Hogan. What's going on, dude?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing all right.
Oh, dude, it's going. I've been freezing all day. KC got spooked by a deer, which usually you're spooking deer, but he got spooked by a deer.
Did he blow at it? What happened?
No, it was one of those situations where I'm kind of on a bluff where a stand is, the same eye level height as deer sometimes are. And I turned around, and there was a spike at like 8 yards away looking at me in the face. It was a little bit spooky. But that's all that really happened for me. But
I can attest to the spookiness of that situation because I did that with 2 does a few days back, and it was scary. So,
is it like spooky, or is it like, holy cow, how'd it get that close without me knowing?
It's spooky.
It's spooky.
Okay.
It's
now,
like
you must have some weird deer down there. I don't know that I've had that situation happen to me plenty of times, but I've never been like, man, that was scary.
They got weird eyes here, dude.
There's a phenomenon where, like, if you're a little bit cold and then a deer surprises you, it's like suddenly you were shaking uncontrollably. Even when it's not a deer you want to shoot, it's just like, whoa, there's a deer, and it's just like, and it was definitely a little bit cold tonight, which, all about that. I know we're preaching to the choir on the cold thing, but you know what? For us, the people that say y'all and draw things out a little bit, like, it's cold, Sam.
Yeah.
It's cold, man.
Yeah.
I can try to do that, y'all.
That's pretty natural. I like
that was pretty good, man.
that pause really killed it.
The pause killed it.
Anymore. I'm sorry.
I like the attempt.
We can restart this podcast if you want.
That's okay, man. That's all good. It's good to have you on and see that just contradiction or that contrast, I guess, in who we are and who you are, and you can just tell that, like, hunting is kind of a universal thing that can bring people together still. And then also just knowing that you're just the man, dude. Like, you just kill things, dude. Like, somehow. And you've had
this year was making me nervous. Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
You've had a roller coaster of a season. I think the last time that we talked to you on the podcast, you told the most epic story of the year across all social media or all media outlets in the outdoor industry. And we were lucky to have you on to tell that. But since then, kind of tell us what's happened, and more recently, you've had some success, right?
Yeah, got a little bit of lucky breaks. I guess following up from the last time we talked, I was planning on doing the camping island hunt where you get dropped off on an island and have 7 days to do what we can, basically. Yeah. And
is that was that part of the Naked and Afraid show, or what is that exactly? You're talking about hunting. Okay.
It could have been, but it would have lightened the pack for sure. A lot less clothes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Sorry, man.
If that was the case, we never would have. I mean, you think it's cold then, or you think it's cold down there? November on an island, getting the breezes from Lake Michigan, naked. No,
no, sir.
That wouldn't go well.
No.
I wouldn't be here talking on the phone right now.
I'd walk to Texas from the island. Anyway, sorry about that.
You're good. You're good. Yeah, so that ended up completely falling apart due to transportation issues. Basically, we got the tag, which isn't hard to obtain. Apparently, what's hard to obtain is a way to get to the island. So that kind of fell apart. And rather than my buddy and I doing that, we saw some opportunity in some northern Michigan public land And it was the last week of October, and we figured, that's honestly probably my favorite time to hunt. It's not like all out rut fest, but there's deer starting to cruise, and it's the hype. Everything's and it's not just like hype from me, it's hype from deer. They're all like ready to go. The bucks are starting to cruise. Does aren't in estrus yet, but it's getting close, and they know it. And you time a tail end of October with a cold front, and things start happening. And that was kind of what we had, and we went up there, and I actually had a pretty rough hunt and wounded a rather large whitetail. And northern Michigan is not known for large whitetail. So had a couple other encounters that ended negatively. All to say, December 4, I still had not shot a buck in Michigan, which for me, once December rolls around, bucks generally are not that visible. Like if I go out hunting right now, which I have been, I'm pretty much dead set on filling a doe tag. I haven't had positive experiences hunting December for bucks in Michigan. So it was kind of a bleak spot to be for me, to be honest. It was like, man, first year in like 4 years that I won't have killed a buck, and first year in 3 that I won't have a big buck breakdown. So December 5 was a good day. But it was very, very lucky. It was get out of work, and I have an hour and probably an hour and a half left. And for me, I think the key to success is just time. Like just if I have an hour and a half, I'm going to sit for an hour and a half. Like if I've got like an hour, I'm going to get to my spot as quick as possible, go run in and get set up and see what happens. And not more often than not, but oftentimes that's kind of when things happen, when like you don't really expect them to happen. So I went in and I went to a piece of private that quite a lot of people hunt, and quite a lot of people who don't have, well, I'm sure they have desires to kill big bucks, but they shoot every buck. Kind of one of those properties that you might describe it as like your typical Michigan deer hunting property, where it's a lot of deer die. There's a lot of deer there, but as far as growing anything halfway decent, and I don't even like saying that. I kind of threw up in my mouth a little saying growing deer, but seeing deer that are like halfway decent, it just doesn't happen much there. Especially this late in the season. It's like, yeah, that's the odds of seeing a 3.5-year-old or better marching through this swampy piece in like post rut are not very high. But I had an hour and a half, and that place was close, and I was going to go see what happened. So there's basically one side of the swamp gets hunted a lot, and the other side, there's a small woodlot that butts up to like a subdivision and a school. And the subdivision has about 4.5 acres of undeveloped property that I have permission through somebody on the actual subdivision board to go hunt, and I'm sure they gave me permission with zero idea that I would actually go hunt there, but I do. So it was actually the second time I'd gone back there, and I knew that the deer were cruising that side of the swamp to avoid the slaughter fest that was occurring on the opposite side. So I had a halfway decent wind. I had no time, so I pretty much booked it across the swamp and got set up. And I didn't set up in a tree stand. I just found a gnarly oak in between 2 trails and just kind of knelt next to that. And normally kneeling on the ground does not work for me because I get the nastiest Charlie horses and I end up like sprawled out on the ground, writhing in pain. But this one was a short enough sit that I figured I'd make it work. And literally at last light, I had nothing come through, and at last light, I see a deer. And given the season I had with unrecovered deer and misses, I was like, you know what? I'd put that at least a 2.5-year-old, just body size. Like, it was getting dark enough to the point where it was hard to see antlers, and it was in some brush. So looking at the body, I'm like, that's a buck. He's cruising for some strange reason still. And I can make out like at least a halfway decent 8-point side. So I draw, he steps out, I shoot, and I don't know what happened, but my arrow flew really funny. And I'm not sure if it being on the ground, it deflected off a branch or something. It's hard to tell, especially in that low light situation. But the arrow kicked real weird, and I hit the buck, but the arrow just flew way too strange for me to be confident, and I knew the shot was going to be back. So immediately I'm like, all right, not going after this deer right now. So I called a couple buddies and basically said, I think this deer is dead, but I'm going to give him time. I walked to the arrow, and the arrow didn't smell like guts necessarily, but it was real dark. Mm-hmm. So it was like definitely a liver. I was pretty sure if I got liver, I got guts, but I was also very confident that it was going to be dead if we gave him time. This deer also ran directly towards backyards and a school. So
yeah,
tracking was going to be fascinating. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it's better if I wait for these people to go to bed and then go back there. So I gave them actually 5 hours, and my buddy drove half an hour to help me track, which was awesome because just the nerve-wracking experiences of sneaking through backyards and not actually backyards, but like butting right up to backyards, like 50 yards from their houses, is nerve-wracking. So having somebody else do the same nerve-wracking thing with you makes it better. But we were snuck back out there at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. We gave them 4 or 5 hours, and we were just going to take the blood trail really, really slowly. The reason I even went out again that night was because I did not want somebody to wake up the next morning before I got there and find a buck dead in their backyard. Or somebody go to school and see a dead deer in the courtyard or wherever it made it to, the middle of the soccer field. I don't know. Basically, I couldn't leave this deer. And it's one of those things that you kind of think about it, but you don't think about it until you're in the situation where you're tracking a deer. You just kind of think, okay, if I make a good shot, he'll go 100 yards and pile up right there, and we'll be just fine. But obviously that did not occur in this situation, and I was kind of in a pickle where I felt like I just had to go after him before it got light. Right. So we were sneaking in, dark red blood. We never bumped him that we could see, like never got to like hear him run away. But we were also bumping all kinds of deer in there. So it got real chaotic. We didn't even have a bow, just because of where we were, sneaking through backyards. And at one point, this deer left the woodlot, and his blood trail, because he was bleeding pretty good, his blood trail went directly into a backyard. And we're looking, like there's snow on the ground, and we're looking to see if we can see him like bedded or laying down up there or piled up by the house. And all of a sudden this guy walks in the backyard, and he's like shining his flashlight on the ground. Like, we just assumed that he was tracking the deer, but it immediately sends us into this like, holy cow, he's in the subdivision. We're going to have to go like find him before somebody else does. So we back out, we go into the subdivision. We just start walking roads, and we're looking for blood trails that cross the road to see if we can't pick him up on the other side. And ultimately we determined he did not cross that road. So we go back into the woods. We keep tracking. We bump him a couple times into the school, back out of the school, and then finally he crosses this main road. And at this point, it's about 2 a.m. And he crosses a main road. And at this point, I know it's not in a subdivision, and it's not at the school, so I'm backing out. So we knew we were bumping it because we'd find some beds. And at that point, I was finally confident enough that we would be able to get permission, or at least go and try to get permission or figure out a way to go get this buck. But I wasn't as worried about leaving it until morning. So we went home at about 2, got back up. We actually opted to go to work, and we got back out there at like 3. So we both left work a little bit early and wanted to go check on it because we didn't want to get there because we knew it was on private. We found one bed on the other side of the road right along a creek, and if we were to get out there before work, it would have been at like 7:30 in the morning, and we didn't want to wake up a landowner asking to go track a deer in a pretty I don't want to say urban, but not a rural area, suburban. We'll go with suburban.
Sure.
And we get back out there at 3 in the afternoon, and this deer, where it was bedded the last time we bumped it, it was bedded right along this creek, and on the other side of the creek was a private drive. And me and actually 2 of my buddies this time wanted to come out and see what was going on, so they came with me. We piled into the minivan, which is a great hunting vehicle, and drive down this private drive, which clearly by the looks we were getting from everybody there, not many people just drive down that road. It does not happen often.
In a minivan.
No, yeah, exactly.
That says free candy.
Yeah, exactly. It's not white, and there are windows, but yeah, I sure raised some suspicion.
Yeah.
But we started driving down there. Also noteworthy is 3:00 is when the school gets out, so very poor timing. Kids walking everywhere, and we're like, oh boy, here we go. We're driving down this road, and I asked the guys, because they're on the side of the vehicle that can see better where on the other side of the creek. I'm driving, so I'm like, guys, look in this woods. I doubt he made it 100 yards once we stopped pushing him. Like, we knew we were pushing this deer. We knew he was hurt bad. We just had to keep pushing him. So I said, he's going to be within 100 yards. And they didn't see him, so I turned around. I go to drive back out, and maybe 60 yards from where we last saw him, or where we last saw a bed, he was piled up. And I could see him from the van just on cloud 9, because naturally you don't sleep much after a night like that. I think every hunter, or most hunters, have been through it. It's just kind of a miserable feeling. This buck died on the other side of the creek, so it was probably 25 yards off the road, which was also 25 yards from a little kid bus stop, which it is comical to think about a bunch of parents and kids standing there that morning, wondering what that smell is.
Oh, yeah.
and there being a buck like 20 yards away. But clearly nobody knew it was there. And I opted to go to the landowner. I pulled up OnX, got the landowner's info, knocked on the door. Nobody answered. I was spamming their Ring. They had one of those Ring doorbells, which I'm pretty sure go to your phone. So I was thinking, like, maybe if I click it enough times, they will get sick of the notifications and answer me. It didn't work either. And I was like, you know what? And then I was thinking, like, the creek, I hear this from my fisherman buddies who say, like, creek are public access. Once you're in the creek, you can, like, move your, I guess it's free. I don't know how to explain it, but
I'm just glad it's a creek and not a crick.
Sorry, man, I'm messing up the first rule. It's a crick, y'all.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's got some real steep banks. I figured it's public access. I'm gonna just drop down into this, climb the other side, and it's right there.
Just lasso him.
Not far. Well, he was close enough. I didn't even have to lasso him.
All right.
He was bedded right on like the 6-foot bank of the creek, and he died right there. So like I just got up there and I grabbed him and I pulled him into the man, this is gonna mess me up for the rest of the story. I'll call it a crick.
What do you naturally call it?
I naturally call it a creek.
Okay, me too.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying that.
No, we were just jabbing fun about most people north of here call it crick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that's what you have in your neck is
that's
a
not
crick.
word. That's not a word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you call, like, the shingles on the top of your house?
A roof.
Okay.
With
See,
long
some
O.
people call that a roof.
I know.
don't get it.
That's what dogs say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, man, we're on the same page.
I know.
Like the few pronunciation things that the Michigan guys and the Texas guys might agree on.
How about that, man? That's something else. So you pull this thing, you reach up like Austin Powers, I would think, and pull your buck into the creek real quick, and nobody knows it.
Well, people were starting to take notice at this point. We had a very, very nice little old lady, completely perplexed at how somebody was hunting here, thinking that we were hunting like her front yard, presumably. Mm-hmm. And I explained that we had tracked it from across on the other side of the school, on the other side of the subdivision, and she was nice, but just very confused.
Yeah.
She's like, how did you end up here? Where were you hunting? Like, very innocently curious. Mm-hmm. So she wasn't trying to cause a scene or get me in any sort of trouble, but she was very confused. Clearly, that is not something that happens recently on that private drive.
Sure. Yeah.
Or often. So as soon as I got up to him, I looked down. I'm like, I have no idea what deer this is, but it's way better than I thought it was. Like it's not your standard 2-year-old 8 that I thought it could have been. I just knew it was better. It was at least that big, probably better. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of prepared for like the smallest buck possible. So I got up to him. I'm dragging him in. I drug him down and was dragging him up the other side. And my buddies are like, holy cow, that is a big deer. Like, it took all 3 of us to get him out of that creek after I got him down in there. So we loaded him up, got him processed. Got him gutted when we got back to the property, not on the side of the private drive. So we got out of there as soon as we could. And it turns out that I was going back through trail camera pictures that my buddy sent me, and it is the biggest buck that we have pictures of on the property, and it had disappeared completely since July. Wow. We have one picture of him in July.
He's eating out of people's backyards, bird feeders.
That's probably exactly where he was, because I hadn't spent hardly any time hunting on that side. And I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was just cruising through backyards, bird feeders. There's a ton of does, not necessarily on the property that gets hunted a lot because they're all dead. But the neighboring properties have a lot of them. So I'm sure he didn't have to move very far to find a hot doe. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, it doesn't surprise me that we didn't see him for that long, but it very much surprised me that I was able to wrap my tag around him. That it's just odd to see a deer that big come out of the woodwork late in the season after a season that I felt I was not getting lucky.
Right.
For not going my way.
Man.
So it just ended up being it was a backwards way to get there, but it was a very, very positive outcome.
Man, that's two things. How do you always have some incredible story, and how do you always kill big bucks and bulls?
Well,
I need to hunt with you, man.
I am the most proud of every deer that I've ever killed, but like I wouldn't call them like they're not monsters.
Yeah, but they're man, for where you hunt, they're solid.
Whitetails.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, they're good.
I'm absolutely pumped. I don't know how old this deer is, but the body on him in July was huge. He was a little run down post-rut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's always hard to look at the body of those deer and know exactly what they are.
Yeah.
Or what they were. Judging by trail camera picture, I'd imagine that he'd have to be, 30% lighter. I mean, he just dropped a lot of weight.
It's hard for them to process those sunflower seeds, I think. They don't they don't go through very good.
The Cardinals like them,
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's weird because you'd think that like ag field deer would be huge.
Yeah.
Like deer that are just living in ag fields, and there's no ag fields anywhere near this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like maybe somebody had some minerals or something in their bird feeder. I don't know, but something got him big early. In the summer, he looked like a cow. I remember like seeing that trail camera picture and being like, that is a black Angus whitetail.
I hope he tastes like it.
Yeah.
I don't know how it happened, but he's big.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I got my hands on him, it took. I mean, it's not a small deer by any stretch, but it was not the big burly whitetail that we had pictures of for sure.
Yeah. Well, after you dressed him, did you get any more confirmation on what was up with the shot and maybe what caused the arrow issue or anything? Yeah.
So the shot was actually better than I thought.
Yeah.
So the knock, I was shooting lighted knocks, and the knock I think kicked out. So he was walking left to right, and my knock kicked left. And naturally, where that knock goes is where you presume the broadhead is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because it kicked out to the left, I saw the knock go left, and it looked farther back than what it was. My entry was perfect. But apparently he was slightly more quartered to me than I thought. So it took out lungs and guts, or lungs, liver, and guts.
Mm-hmm.
And the exit was probably like second to last rib back. So kind of pretty center mass.
Yeah.
It wasn't like hind quarter back, but it was back enough where you messed up some nasty stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Well, at least it was fatal, and you got to recover him pretty quick, man. He's a stud, and just like Tyler said, it seems like every year we can rely on you. It took till December this year, so we're a little disappointed, but you still got your big buck breakdown done for the year.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
You guys put me on the spot. I don't know if it was August or earlier, but you guys before deer season, you were getting pretty hyped and talking about big buck breakdowns you were going to be doing in the future. And I don't remember which one of you said it, but it was, who do you think's going to be doing it? And like, I was thrown in the mix with some very, very esteemed names, and obviously that makes me uncomfortable. and there's like, all the pressure I had put on myself is like quadrupled because now they're expecting it.
Man, just well wishes. It's not expectations. It's just we know you're going to get it done, man. Positivity is what kills.
No, I know it.
Yeah. Unless you're me, because I'm a very positive person and I've not killed a buck yet this year. So there's that. But otherwise.
I honestly, I know I think we've talked about this off air, but I think there's a lot to it. Just the positivity.
Yeah.
Standpoint. And what I wanted to mention, I'm pretty sure every single podcast we've talked about me being like the lucky chip.
Yeah.
Like you talk to me and you go kill a big 10-point.
That's what happened 2 years ago for sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure about the other ones.
I don't know if this can be correlation, but me and Tyler definitely talked, and then he got it done in Iowa. So
really?
I'm just saying.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, hot dog.
The night before, Sam was like, Sam was pretty much the like key to my inspiration that night. Yeah,
I'm going to text Sam every day from here on out.
He called me. I think he called me, or one way or another. We ended up on the phone, and he was like, I don't know. He was just like, she could tell that I was down, and he just like was like, dude, you got this. You know what you're doing, kind of thing.
Just a little bro pump.
Yeah, it wasn't like a super hype fest or anything.
Full football coach on you. Like, I was going to be upset if you left Iowa.
Yeah, but
and
you didn't show that.
About it. I'm like, dude, don't.
He was. Yeah.
I was emotionally invested in that hunt, and I've never hunted Iowa.
Dude, I hope I didn't let you down because I didn't shoot the big old giant that everybody goes to Iowa for. But I did shoot a nice buck. But he's just, he wasn't probably what we hyped it up to be on the podcast or something. I hope at least we didn't overhype it.
No, that was a good deer. I think I called you the next day when you Snapchatted me or like texted me a picture of like a belly or I think it was a belly.
Yeah. It wasn't mine either. It wasn't my belly. Just so y'all know.
No. I guess a white belly could be either too. A 20-yard piled up deer.
Yeah. There you go. That's a good one. Yeah.
That just led into the hype fest. But yeah, hopefully this brings Casey some luck tomorrow.
I'm hoping. I actually hope it brings me luck, not Casey.
Of course he does. This guy done killed 3 deer this year. He wants more.
I need another one.
But maybe we'll both kill, and it'll just make up for everything. That's what's going to happen.
Yep.
That'd be pretty epic.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you telling the story, man. I'm glad that you got it done. I'm even more glad that you were able to recover that deer and the coyotes didn't eat him, and you put it on YouTube and get raged. So I'm glad that went your way, man. So
hey, I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
sure thing, brother.
We'll talk to you soon.
Alrighty.
Sam's always got something crazy that happens to him.
I know, dude. He's one of those guys that I don't know how you say it. Like, not that crazy follows him, but like he's going to get in a situation.
Yeah. And
it's not going to be bad or like sketchy or whatever, but he's just one of those guys that things happen to that make for good stories.
Yeah. I kind of have always wondered about the whole like subdivision deer tracking thing,
for real, man.
Because they're not that we have a whole lot of subdivisions where we're at that have good deer hunting, but there's a few. And then across the U.S., especially out east, I think there's a lot of urban deer hunting that happens, and so that's interesting.
I think that some other states. Let me rephrase this. Where we come from, you either have people who are all about hunting, or you have people that are kind of anti-hunting.
Yeah.
And I think that in Texas, we're real proud of being rednecks or whatever, whatever people want to call it. But that is really the case. I think that some of these, especially more northern states, they'll everybody goes out and gets their deer in gun season thing, like runs pretty deep, so that you have even people that are like old cat ladies kind of understand that people are going to shoot deer. So like they're just a little bit more cool with it than like what maybe, Dallas suburbia mom might be sometimes. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That might be just my perception. It might not be the case.
Old cat lady, huh?
Yeah.
Old cat lady.
Yeah.
Those are fun people.
Speaking of cat ladies, so rings are a cool thing now. Not like a ring for your finger, but like the doorbell.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? It has a camera on it.
Yeah, Sam talked about that, didn't he?
Oh, he did in the podcast. Yeah. So I'm on this page on Facebook that's like Native Texas Wildlife or something. And somebody was like, I had no idea I had all this wildlife in my yard in North Houston. And they're like recording it from their ring. And they're like, there's like raccoons and possums. And then what is this one? It's a tomcat. They thought it was something like
Black Panther
or something, man.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
We saw a good trail camera picture recently, a series of trail camera pictures from local to us that was about the most Black Panther looking black tomcat that you could imagine.
Yeah, imagine Black Panther, but shrink it 5 times.
But like it was weird because the perspective, somehow the camera's on like a really short tree or something, and it made that cat, the picture, like, and there was like small trees in the background or something that looked like they could have been big trees.
Yeah.
And so it made this cat look way bigger. Yeah. And man, there was some people hype about it, dude.
Dude, people love a good cryptozoologic episode on trail cameras, believe me.
Yeah.
But speaking of that kind of thing, we may have filmed some Black Panthers out at my property one point in time this season.
Yeah, we definitely did.
So y'all be sure and subscribe to the YouTube channel because that stuff will be coming out. You've got the Kansas videos rolling out right now. We talked a little bit about that earlier, but y'all be sure and subscribe to that. The rut time in Kansas, early November stuff was just absolutely crazy. I actually am enjoying going back and rewatching them right now because I've had a tough year for killing as far as killing goes personally. And I kind of get down in the dumps and I get to thinking negatively, and then I go back and look and see how good of a season that you and I have actually had just with encounters and having fun and seeing cool stuff in the woods. That's really one of the nice things about filming your hunts, man. It's like it's cool to be able to share that stuff with people, but it's also cool just to go back and look at the memories, you know?
Dude, like about a month and a half to 2 months later after I released the series, I go back and watch it, and I'm like, golly, that was fun, man.
Yeah.
Like, I went back and watched Nebraska, I don't know, a couple weeks ago maybe, and I was like remembering, all the things that happened and everything. And what's crazy is like the hunt was tough. I think we talked about how it was not really super fun because of all the bugs and the heat and everything, and at least the way I did it. And but like I've forgotten about how much of that stuff, like was not cool, and more just looked at all the cool stuff that happened as like, man, that was a fun trip. I can't wait to go back. And I don't really know if I can or can't, like I can't wait to go back. But then when I actually think about it, I'm like, man, there was a lot of mosquitoes. It was nasty. But I mean,
there are 3 things in this world Tyler does not like to run up on in the woods. Number 1 being a snake. Number 2 being a skunk.
Skeeter.
And number 3 being a skeeter. Is that the order?
Snakes, skeeters, and skunks.
Yeah. Which is...
Snakes, skunks, and skeeters.
I don't really like to get too close proximity with any of those animals either.
No,
so
they're not.
I'm with you.
They're not cool. Skunks are weird, man.
Yeah, what's worse about skunks is they come out at night. And when are you walking in and out of your tree stand? At night.
You ever... I didn't watch The Joker. Did you watch it? Yeah. But the commercials I've seen, that's the way a skunk acts. They act like the Joker. They just like flail around and like do weird things all of a sudden. And it's like, you don't know if he's cocked and ready to go or if he's just like flirting with a lady friend somewhere. It's like
Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, exactly. So skunks weird me out big time, man, because they're just unpredictable. You know what a skeeter and a snake's about to do. They're about to strike. Anyway, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check it out. Feel free to give us a supporting comments at any moment on any video. We will take them.
That's right.
And,
positivity is a great, invaluable, and precious thing.
It is, man. And you know what? You don't even have to be an expert to do that.
That's right.
Did you know that?
Yeah. In fact, you don't even have to act like an expert at all on YouTube ever.
You don't. Yeah. You don't have to do it on a podcast either.
That's right. We try not to because we're not.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to hope to shoot a deer like the one that's on TV right now tonight. And with that said, man, it's getting, towards the end of December. Christmas is going to happen soon. We might not even have a podcast before Christmas, main show. Will we?
Yeah, I don't guess so.
So
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas to you guys, and make sure and spend time with the family and stuff like that. But man, if you can get out and do a little deer hunting, man, it's a fun time of year. You kind of have the woods to yourself. Things get quiet, and people bundle up and stay inside and that kind of thing, and don't do a whole lot of yard work sometimes when it's cold. So it can make for, in my opinion, in my experience, a pretty just peaceful and fun evening sometimes when you just bundle up and don't get after it too hard. You just kind of like, if they come out, I'm going to shoot one. If they don't, I'm just going to have a good evening watching things happening in the woods, So, I don't know. It's like Casey said earlier, there's still deer in the woods.
That's right.
So, and even if you don't shoot a deer in the next couple weeks, there are some fun things that can start happening soon, like hog hunting and fishing. For us, people maybe up north are more ice fishing, that kind of thing. But,
nasty.
It'll start warming up in a couple months here for us, and really bass fishing starts to kick up. So it's an exciting time of year, man, with the holidays and everything. I'm just excited to finally kind of relax and hang out with my family because I've been hunting so much, and sounds like a terrible problem, I know, but I'm definitely excited about it. So
yeah.
With that said, Casey and I have got to make plans for the night. I'm getting down to the wire here in Kansas, and I've done it before, but it's not feeling too promising right now. So we will have to see. Y'all wish me luck, and remember, this is your element.
Living it.
In the river, and that's why they call it the red. Well, I've always heard blood is thicker than water. It's why she moves so slow when you look down upon her. Well, I can see it cross and it still looks the same. It's a red.
Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls because I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like him. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.